Everyone thinks that he is just a powerless village boy, but he turns out to be the greatest king in history. A long time ago, a man named Gray rose from being an orphan to the conqueror of the entire earth. No one could stand against him, and those who tried were mercilessly wiped off the planet. However, even with all the power in the world, he felt unsatisfied with his life because he was all alone. Then one day, he suddenly found himself drowning in a bottomless sea, and a voice asked him to seek the light in his next life. The king realized that he had just died, and the very next moment, he opened his eyes in a dimly lit room with two unknown people looming over his head. They called him Arthur and kept telling each other how much their son reassembled them. Even though he had no idea who these people were or where he was now, he now realized that he had been reborn with the full consciousness and knowledge from his past life. The great king, who is now just an ordinary infant, finds his new life as Arthur incredibly embarrassing. He can't control his body very well and acting like a child while his parents clean his diapers fills him with shame. One day, Arthur sees his father using magic to strengthen his body so that he can plow their fields with just one punch, and then his mother healing him after he gets injured. That is the first thing that makes him curious, and he realizes that this world is not Earth because it has magic. Soon, Arthur finds out that his dad is an adventurer who often goes out to hunt monsters with his friends. He figures out that since all people in this world are allowed to keep weapons, it must be a dangerous place, and decides to get strong as soon as possible to protect himself. Unfortunately, that day is still far away because right now he is still a baby who starts falling asleep whenever his mom sings him a lullaby. However, he soon overcomes his frustration about that and begins enjoying these peaceful moments because in his past life, he was always under the danger of assassins targeting him in his sleep. A few months pass, and Arthur finally starts crawling around the house. He pretends to be asleep so that his mom leaves him alone, and then sneaks into the library in their house where he begins searching the books for information on this world. He finds that the continent he is living on has a country of dwarves to the south and a country of elves on the north. The human country is ruled by a king, but unlike his past life, the king's son becomes the new king in this world, and there is no fight to death for the empty throne. He then finds another book that tells him about magic, and Arthur realizes that magic is the reason this world is so backwards in terms of science and technology. He learns that roughly 1% of the population can use magic, and the magic capacity of a person is often decided by the capacity of their parents. The book tells him that there are two main types of magic users. First are the augmenters, who use mana to greatly strengthen their physical abilities and fight as warriors. The second category is of the conjurers, who can project mana outside their body like wizards. Arthur realizes that his dad is an augmenter, but he thinks that his mom is not a typical conjurer because of her healing powers. He decides to stop thinking about that and continues reading the ways to become a magic user. The book tells him that to use magic, one needs to have a magic core, which is formed by concentrating the mana inside the body to one single point. Most people are able to achieve that only when they hit puberty, and it takes them years to create a strong and usable mana core. Arthur, however, already knows about a similar concept. In his previous life, he could manipulate the internal energy of his body called Kai, and forming a Kai core inside his body was just like forming a mana core. Arthur begins to focus his mana inside his body, hoping that he can take the first step to becoming strong in this world. But just as he is about to form his mana core, his mother finds him and takes him back to his bed. 2 years pass in a flash, and one day, while Arthur's mom is busy writing a diary entry about him, he goes outside to learn swordsmanship from his dad. As he keeps swinging a wooden stick like a sword, his mother comes outside, and she is incredibly furious at her husband for teaching their son to use a sword when he just learned to walk. This is not a new thing for Arthur, who has now realized that his mother is the real boss of the household. His mother also takes him to the nearby city occasionally, and Arthur is always happy to be there because it allows him to learn a lot about this world. He shows interest in everything from weapons to strange goods found in this world, but the thing he is most curious about is magic, and being in the city gives him the best chance to see it up close. Apart from these visits, Arthur lives a peaceful life with his parents, and though he is uncomfortable about being trapped in the body of an infant, he slowly starts liking the peaceful life. His parents take care of all his needs, and that reminds him of his childhood at the orphanage in his previous life, where he desperately wished for a family, but his wishes never came true. One day, Arthur sees his dad practicing magic to strengthen his mana core. He is really excited to see and learn from him, but his dad can merely manage to lift a few stones from the ground using his mana. Arthur is not impressed because picking the stones with his hands would be faster. But then his mother comes to him and tells him that it was not his dad's best shot, and he performs better from the second round onwards. Arthur's dad concentrates his energy again to impress his wife this time, and release a series of powerful attacks that shake the earth. Arthur is really impressed by his dad's skills this time, and his mom is sure that when he grows up, he will also turn out to be a strong warrior. Arthur wants to try doing it right away, but his mom decides to take him away for nap time. They pass by the library on the way, and Arthur pleads with his mother that he wants to read the books. She sternly refuses him, but he gives her an innocent pleading look that she can't resist. In the end, she leaves him alone with the books while she goes outside to be with her husband, and Arthur starts focusing all the mana in his body to form his mana core, which he has been trying to do for the past 2 years. He feels that he is on the verge of a breakthrough, and then suddenly, his mana core is formed inside his body. As a result, a powerful explosion blows away the house, and Arthur's dad gets injured while trying to protect his wife. They both panic as they fear that their son is in danger. But when they go inside, they can't believe their eyes when they see Arthur floating in the sky with a golden glow. Arthur gives them a smug smile, declaring that can finally use magic now. He gets on the ground and starts walking towards them, when suddenly, the rubble from the roof falls towards him. He panics, fearing that this is going to be the end of his life, but both his parents lunge towards him to keep him safe from the falling rubble. Arthur realizes only after this that his parents have the duty to keep him safe, but when they start crying, he gets confused. In his previous life, he never experienced anything like this, and even the parents of other kids never showed any emotions other than pride or disappointment. As he wonders what this new feeling is, Arthur starts crying too, instinctively clinging on to his mother. A couple of years pass by after that, and Arthur is now a young boy, who is starting to learn combat skills from his father Reynold. Him and his dad stand face to face in the garden, where his dad tries to hand him his prized gloves, but Arthur rejects it as he knows that he doesn't have enough strength to wield them at this age. He instead picks up a wooden sword, and his father does the same. Arthur immediately jumps into action, trying to land 3 consecutive attacks on his father, but his dad is much stronger and easily blocks each of his attacks. Arthur realizes that his dad is using his magic to reinforce the sticks, so he decides to do the same, and pours his mana into his wooden sword. Soon after, he runs at his dad once again, who is surprised when Arthur's attack manages to break his stick in half. Arthur smiles and claims that his wood is better than his father's wood, but his dad claims that stamina matters more. Regardless though, his dad realizes that Arthur is a prodigy, so he makes the tough decision to talk to his wife about sending Arthur out of town to an actual tutor. His mother Alice is completely against it, as she doesn't want her sweet son to be ripped away from him since he is only 4 years old. Reynold argues that at just 4 years old, Arthur's wood is much more powerful than his own, which means that he should be trained by an accomplished warrior. But before they could come to a decision, Arthur chimes in, claiming that they should all go together. Even though it sounds like a pretty dumb idea, both the parents immediately agree, probably because the housing crisis hasn't really affected their world yet. A couple days later, Alice and Reynold's previous party members arrive to travel with them, and Arthur introduces himself to all of them. His parents' old party consisted of Adam, the leader, Angela, the big-jugged woman, Derd, the average-looking man, Helen, the archer, and Jasmine, the manic pixie girl who seems suspicious of Arthur for some reason. Soon they decide to start moving, and Arthur learns that this world still uses a pretty primitive mode of transport, compared to his world where they got air Ubers to go everywhere. A little while later, they decide to sit down for a bit to eat. But that doesn't go so well when a bunch of wolf monsters appear out of the forest because of the smell of food. Jasmine immediately springs into action, grabbing 2 daggers and jumping into the fight, slashing any wolf who came in front of her, while Reynold, Adam, and Helen all kill some more wolves with their own weapons. Meanwhile, Derd and Angela use their magic to completely destroy the remaining beasts. That night, they feast on the flesh of the monsters, and after a while, Alice notices that Reynold is still bleeding from his arm and decides to heal him. The rest of the party members immediately stand up from their positions and create a protective circle around them, which confuses Arthur. But he soon gets to know that Alice is a very special mage, who has healing magic which is extremely rare. Because of its rarity, Alice is always at threat of being captured, and that was one of the reasons that they moved to the countryside, in order to stay below the radar. Thankfully, the healing magic works without any issues, but after that, Adam decides that he needs some exercise and asks Arthur to train with him. Arthur agrees to the training, while Adam wraps his sharp spearhead with some cloth to prevent any damage. They get ready for the sparring session and charge up their weapons with mana. But Adam's surprise, Arthur decides to make the first move as he uses magic to enhance his speed, moving at the speed of lightning towards Adam, before disappearing and then appearing behind him, taking Adam by surprise. Unfortunately, Arthur ends up slipping, which gives Adam the time to react, and soon they get locked in an intense back and forth. Everyone is shocked by Arthur's quickness, but at the last moment, he gets thrown away into the air because of his light body, and Angela is forced to save him with her wind magic. He lands softly on the ground below, while the rest of the team members start scolding Adam for going overboard against such a little boy. Adam tries to defend himself, claiming that the boy is too strong, but no one listens to him. Jasmine, on the other hand, seems very intrigued by Arthur's skills and starts asking him questions about the techniques that he is using. The next couple of days go by quickly as Arthur trains, eats, sleeps, and trains some more with almost every single member of the party, learning lance techniques from Adam, push-ups from Reynold, archery from Helen, and running like Usain Bolt from Jasmine, who seems to have taken quite a liking to the little boy. She tries to woo him to a ditty party by offering him a small sword with some baby oil on it. But his mom doesn't want Arthur to get cooked, so she calls him away. Soon they start continuing their journey in the carts when suddenly they are forced to stop in some mysterious circumstances. Suddenly, a bunch of arrows fly towards them and Arthur immediately realizes that they are getting attacked by bandits. Derd and Adam immediately jump in front of the carts, while Angela uses her wind magic to blow away all the arrows coming towards them. Arthur peeks outside, only to find out that they are completely surrounded by bandits from all sides. The ugly bandit leader orders his goons to not hurt Alice and Arthur and get rid of everyone else, since they can be sold for a high amount. The bandits all shout in agreement and jump into the battle zone, where they start getting cooked by Reynold and his party. One by one, all the members of the party start eliminating the bandits one by one, and Arthur knows that his party is much stronger on an individual basis, but the problem starts emerging when the bandits start trying to overwhelm them by sheer numbers. The party members start getting exhausted by the constant fighting, while the bandit leader goes for a 1v1 against Reynolds and slams him into the cart in which Arthur is. The cart gets destroyed as Alice quickly tries to help Reynolds, but he tells her not to use her magic, as that will make the situation even worse. He gets up and tells Arthur to take his mother somewhere safe while he deals with the bandit leader. Arthur obviously wants to fight and claims that he is strong enough to handle these goons, but his father screams at him to use that strength to protect his mother since she has a child in her stomach. Arthur wonders when did they get the time to do the deed, but decides to run away with Alice nonetheless. The bandit leader tries to go after them, but Reynold attacks him once again, forcing him to defend himself. Arthur keeps running, but soon finds his way blocked by multiple enemies. Thankfully, his party members are professionals, and they manage to eliminate all the bandits in his way one by one. Arthur thanks them for their help and continues running at full speed when suddenly they get ambushed by a mage, who attacks them with his wind magic. Arthur decides to push his mother to safety, while he gets hit by the brunt of the damage, pushing him up in the air and over the cliff. He decides that he is not going to die alone, and throws his knife tied to a rope at his attacker, bringing him down as well. Both Derd and Angela immediately try to use their magic to save young Arthur, while his mother screams his name with teary eyes. But all that time Arthur feels peaceful, as if he has achieved something. He wonders whether this is what happiness feels like, when suddenly tears form into his eyes as he realizes that he was going to be a big brother, but now that life has been snatched away from him. As Arthur opens his eyes after the fall, he finds that he is still alive. He wonders where he is when suddenly, the ground under him starts shaking as something huge walks towards him. Arthur tries to get up and see what is coming, and he is utterly horrified by a scary-looking demon who calls him by his name. Arthur is terrified of the demon, but he is a Chad who won't go down without a fight. He leaps at the demon to attack it, but gets flicked away gently. As he gets up, the demon tells him that he still has a lot to learn, and then assures him that she is a friend. Arthur doesn't understand what the hell is going on. And then the demon suddenly starts picking some fruits for him. She tells Arthur that he needs to eat before they can start talking because she is not going to answer any questions otherwise. Arthur has no choice but to gobble down the fruits, and then he asks the demon if his parents are fine. She shows him a scene of the road where his parents and their friends fought the bandits, and it is full of the dead bodies of the bandits. The demon tells Arthur that everyone he knows is alive, and they continued their journey days ago safely. Arthur is moved to tears as relief fills his heart on hearing this. He then asks the demon her name so that he can thank her properly, and she introduces herself as Sylvia. A few days pass with Arthur still in Sylvia's cave, eating the fruits to sustain himself while his injuries heal. He wants to go to his parents as soon as possible, but Sylvia tells him that it is not so easy because he will have to go through the forest that is filled with dangerous monsters and outlaws. However, she has another way to unite Arthur with his family, but it involves creating a hole in space-time fabric and takes a lot of time. Arthur understands this, and while Sylvia prepares the hole in space and time, he continues to train his skills. He now understands that even though Sylvia looks like a demon, she is really kind-hearted, and more than that, she cares a lot about him specifically. One day, as Arthur is working on his mana core, Sylvia decides to teach him a trick humans don't know. She gathers mana from the air and forms a ball in her hand, surprising Arthur, who has never seen anything like this before. Sylvia tells him most humans think that they can either gather mana or use it, but in nature, many creatures can do both things at the same time. She offers to teach the trick to Arthur, but before that, she wants to know what he will do once he grows stronger after learning it. Arthur thinks long and hard about it, and then declares that once he grows stronger, he will kill everyone who tries to harm his people. But Sylvia doesn't like that answer, and she flicks him away. Arthur gets pissed at this, but Sylvia tells him that he failed her test because she is not going to teach anyone with such deranged violent tendencies. Arthur is confused by this because the only thing he learned in his past life was that you get stronger to kill your enemies. However, when Sylvia asks him if he enjoys thinking about violence all the time, Arthur falls silent. Sylvia then tells him that there are other ways to use strength aside from violence, and she wouldn't want him to waste his life on rage and violence. Her words hit a nerve with Arthur, and he feels as if Sylvia knows everything about his past life. She then repeats her initial question and asks what will he do once he gets stronger, and this time, Arthur replies that he will protect the people he cares about. Sylvia is pleased with that answer, and she starts teaching Arthur how to use magic while directly gathering it from his surroundings. Arthur learns it really quickly as well, but just as he runs to show that he can do it to Sylvia, she hits him to the side of the cave and buries him in rocks. Arthur is confused, but Sylvia talks to him via telepathy and tells him not to make any sound. Just moments later, another demon like Sylvia arrives there and tells her to come back with him. She refuses to go with him, so the demon shoots an energy ball at her. Arthur is worried, but Sylvia assures him that she will be fine. She gets up to fight again and unleashes her full power, shattering her demon-like body and transforming into a white dragon. She then shoots a hyper beam at the demon, who can barely block it. He warns her that using such a great power will cost her greatly, but Sylvia tells him that she has no regrets with her life. The demon somehow cancels her attack, and then bombards her with his dark energy balls, some of which hit the cave. Sylvia gets distracted as she tries to confirm Arthur's safety, and the demon decides to knock her out with a big attack. Sylvia realizes that Arthur will come under danger because of this danger, so she decides to risk it all so that he can escape. She uses all her power to stop time and then calls Arthur outside, telling him that he needs to go home now. She opens a hole in space and time, telling him that it won't take him directly to his family, but now he is strong enough to survive on his own while he searches for them. Arthur realizes that Sylvia is sacrificing herself for him, and his heart breaks because of that, but she makes him promise to use his power to protect the people he loves. She then gives him some parting gifts in the form of a crystal egg and a feather, asking him to take good care of it. After that, she kisses Arthur and suddenly he gets golden tattoos on both his arms. Sylvia tells him that he will learn their meaning and purpose when the right time comes, but for now, it is farewell. She then tells him that she didn't really need all this time to prepare a portal to send him home, and she delayed the process on purpose because she enjoyed the few days she spent with him. Arthur starts crying on hearing this, and then he realizes that he is not strong enough to protect her right now, even though he promised that he would protect everyone he loves. Sylvia tells him that their promise doesn't apply in this situation, and tells him to hurry. He tells her that he doesn't care if she is a dragon or a demon because she is family to him and you never leave family behind. Sylvia tells Arthur that he already has a mom, so he decides to call her grandma, and the dragon starts crying on hearing that. She then nudges Arthur to the portal, and he takes the egg and the feather with him. But just as he enters the portal and turns back to say a final goodbye to Sylvia, he finds himself getting dragged away. Once he is gone, Sylvia releases her power and returns the time in the cave to normal, immediately getting hit by the demon's attack. She falls to the ground, but as he walks towards her, confident about his victory, Sylvia pulls a fast one on him, blasting him with her full power at point-blank range. On the other hand, Arthur is traveling through the portal where he hears Sylvia's voice again. She tells him that it is okay to be sad, but he should work hard to turn that sadness into happiness one day. Arthur tells her that he can't do it, but Sylvia says that she knows he can do it because he was the strongest king in history. Arthur is shocked to hear that she knows about his previous life, and he wants to ask Sylvia if she was the one who brought him to this world. But before he can do that, he exits the portal. After Arthur is done crying about Sylvia, he gets up and places the crystal egg inside his pouch. He then looks around to find that he is in a dense forest full of dangers. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and watch the video on your screen next.